Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. I don't know if you got notified that we're live because YouTube doesn't care about us creators anymore. It's so frustrating. So thank you guys who found us or got the alert. If you want to make sure you get alerts, can you make sure you are subscribed? We're in the great YouTube purge. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for all alerts, smash the like button, leave a comment down below for the engagement. If you really want to help, you can become a member, hit join, pick a tier. That's supposed to give you like a super subscribe so you actually get these notifications. I'm working on an alternative alert method so you guys can actually get notified because I hear you guys complaining. It's out of my control. I don't know how to get you these alerts, but we were live earlier today and I wanted to talk about Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who might have I think he just did something really great. If this has been seen by tens of millions of people. I think it's already 20 million views since it went up last night or whenever this video went up. And I wanted to share it with you because, look, I know we don't cover this topic on this channel because I don't want to get political. We avoid politics. We talked about this when it happened, the war, when it started. We did address it, and then I made it clear why we weren't going to be reporting it in detail. But from time to time, I've talked about it when it gets more into the industry that we focus on, pop culture, and big events. And I wanted to talk about this because I think Arnold Schwarzenegger, who would have thought Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's done a few of these speeches on Twitter that I think he does really well with. He figures out a way to sort of speak to everybody right down the middle. I'm always impressed by his sort of centerism in these things. And I want to go through and play this video that he did if you guys haven't seen it yet. While, Putin's out there palling it up with Steven Seagal, which, that would have been cool in the 90s. I was a huge Steven Seagal fan, man. Hard to Kill, Out for Justice. Oh, Marked for Death. Oh, these were great films back in the day. But no, the real action hero of our time, Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Red Heat. Him and Belushi made that movie together here, where he the first movie to film in Red Square. He has a lot of Russian fans, and he did a plea, invoking his own father, and this emotional message to Russia. And indeed, I thought a really put together piece. And what's amazing is, before we even get there, it's been trending all over Russian social media. There have been a lot of hackers and things. Anonymous has gotten involved as well. But this cyber war is happening where Putin's trying to, block all of this information into Russian social media and channels. He wants to control the narrative as he goes to war. And the Russian people, a lot of them don't even know what's really going on or why they are going to war. And so props to Schwarzenegger because he went on Telegram, which is really popular. I know we are on Telegram too, so I thought, let's make this video. Let's share it on Telegram, share it wherever we can. Let's help signal boost Arnold's video because I think he does it very eloquently. He does it in a way that's very pro-Russia, and I think that's important here. Well, a lot of people want to just go off and say, oh, screw Russia. No. I have a few Russian friends out there I've been engaging with, talking to privately to make sure they're okay. Most Russians are not okay with this war. And so what's frustrating is getting them the information while they're on, social media darkness. So I want to play Arnold's clip. We're going to talk a little bit more about it, but there you go. It's already past 26 million. This keeps growing as I'm watching today, as it's trending. If you haven't yet seen it, let's watch it together. If you have already seen it, it's worth watching again. Here's Arnold's plea to Russia.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for sharing your time with me. I'm sending this message through various different channels to reach my dear Russian friends and the Russian soldiers serving in Ukraine. I'm speaking to you today because there are things that are going on in the world that are being kept from you. Terrible things that you should know about. But before I talk about the harsh realities, let me just tell you about the Russian who became my hero. In 1961, when I was 14 years old, a very good friend of mine invited me to come to Vienna and to watch the World Weightlifting Championships. I was in the audience when Yuri Petrovich Vlasov won the World Championship title, becoming the first human being to lift 200 kilograms over his head. And somehow a friend of mine got me backstage. All of a sudden there I was, a 14-year-old boy, standing in front of the strongest man in the world. I couldn't believe it. He reached out to shake my hand. I still had a boy's hand. He had this powerful man's hand that swallowed mine. But he was kind, and he smiled at me. I will never forget that day. Never. I went home and I put his photo above my bed to inspire me when I started lifting weights. My father told me to take down that picture and to find a German or an Austrian hero. He got really angry and we argued back and forth. He didn't like Russians because of his experience in the Second World War. You see, he was injured at Leningrad, where the Nazi army that he was part of did vicious harm to the great city and to its brave people. But I did not take the photograph down, no, because it didn't matter to me what flag Yuri Vlasov carried. My connections to Russia didn't stop there, by the way. Oh, it actually deepened when I traveled there with bodybuilding and for my movies and met all my Russian fans. And on one of those trips, I remember, I met Yuri Vlasov once again. It was in Moscow during the filming of Red Heat, which was the first American movie allowed to film in Red Square. Now, he and I spent the whole day together. He was so thoughtful, so kind, and so smart, and, of course, very giving. He gave me this beautiful blue coffee cup. And ever since then, I've been drinking my coffee out of every morning. Now, the reason why I'm telling you all of those things is that ever since I was 14 years old, I've had nothing but affections and respect for the people of Russia. The strength and the heart of the Russian people have always inspired me. And that is why I hope that you will let me tell you the truth about the war in Ukraine and what is happening there. No one likes to hear something critical of the government, I understand that. But as a longtime friend of the Russian people, I hope that you will hear what I have to say. And may I remind you that I speak with the same heartfelt concern as I spoke to the American people when there was an attempted insurrection on January 6th last year, when a wild crowd was storming the US Capitol, trying to overthrow our government. You see, there are moments like this that are so wrong, and then we have to speak up. And it's exactly the same with your government. I know that your government has told you that this is a war to denazify Ukraine. Denazify Ukraine? This is not true. Ukraine is a country with a Jewish president, I might add, whose father's 3 brothers were all murdered by the Nazis. You see, Ukraine did not start this war. Neither did nationalists or Nazis. Those in power in the Kremlin started this war. This is not the Russian people's war. No. As a matter of fact, let me tell you, what you should know is that 141 nations at the UN voted that Russia was the aggressor and called for it to remove its troops immediately. Only 4 countries in the entire world voted with Russia. That is a fact. See, the world has turned against Russia because of its actions in Ukraine. Whole city blocks have been flattened by Russian artillery and bombs, including a children's hospital and a maternity hospital. 3 million Ukrainian refugees, mainly women, children, and elderly, fled their country, and many more are trying to seek to get out. It is a humanitarian crisis. Because of its brutality, Russia is now isolated from the society of nations. You're also not being told the truth about the consequences of this war on Russia itself. I regret to tell you that thousands of Russian soldiers that have been killed. They have been caught between Ukrainians fighting for their homeland and the Russian leadership fighting for conquest. Massive amounts of Russian equipment have been destroyed or abandoned. The destruction that Russian bombs are raining down upon innocent civilians has so outraged the world that the strongest global economic sanctions ever taken have been imposed on your country. Those who don't deserve it on both sides of the war will suffer. The Russian government has lied not only to the citizens, but to its soldiers. Some of the soldiers were told they were going to fight Nazis. Some were told that the Ukrainian people would greet them like heroes, and some were told that they were simply going on exercise. They didn't even know that they were going into war. And some were told that they were there to protect ethnic Russians in Ukraine. None of this is true. The fact is that Russian soldiers have faced fierce resistance from the Ukrainians, who want to protect their families and their country. When I see babies being pulled out of ruins, I think that I'm watching a documentary about the horrors of the Second World War, not the news of the day. Now let me tell you, when my father arrived in Leningrad, he was all pumped up on the lies of his government. And when he left Leningrad, he was broken, physically and mentally. He lived the rest of his life in pain. Pain from a broken back, pain from the shrapnel that always reminded him of these terrible years, and pain from the guilt that he felt. To the Russian soldiers listening to this broadcast, you already know much of the truth that I've been speaking. You have seen it with your own eyes. I don't want you to be broken like my father. This is not the war to defend Russia that your grandfathers or your great-grandfathers fought. This is an illegal war. Your lives, your limbs, your futures are being sacrificed for a senseless war condemned by the entire world. Now, to those in power in the Kremlin, let me just ask you, why would you sacrifice those young men for your own ambitions? To the soldiers who are listening to this, remember that 11 million Russians have family connections to Ukraine. So every bullet you shoot a brother or a sister. Every bomb or every shell that falls is falling not on an enemy, but on a school, or a hospital, or a home. I know that the Russian people are not aware of such things are happening. So I urge the Russian people and the Russian soldiers in Ukraine to understand the propaganda and the disinformation that you are being told. I ask you to help me spread the truth. Let your fellow Russians know the human catastrophe that is happening in Ukraine. And to President Putin I say, you started this war. You are leading this war. You can stop this war. Now, let me close with a message to all of the Russians who have been protesting on the streets against the invasion of Ukraine. The world has seen your bravery. We know that you have suffered the consequences of your courage. You have been arrested, you have been jailed, and you have been beaten. You are my new heroes. You have the strength of Yuri Petrovich Vlasov. You have the true heart of Russia. My dear Russian friends, may God bless you all.
I was saying, I just wanted an excuse to play that video because I think Arnold just put it so well. It was so well said, brought it to his own personal experience, not just with his, the Russian bodybuilder that he looked up to, which he then brought back at the end of how the people fighting against this war and standing up to it are the bravest people as strong as him. A beautiful capper to just, I think, a wonderful speech, but invoking his own father in World War II. And I don't want to say that word, but to go there and express how he saw how broken his father was fighting that war and how misled he was. And that's something you don't really get to hear about, you think all those people were bad, but a lot of those people just led down a wrong path, who are pumped up of information and fighting for your country. And it happens in a way that, obviously he then lived with shame and whatnot for the rest of his life. For Arnold to evoke that, I think even made it even more stronger, in my opinion, of a speech, and just really well done. And he did it so positively, not negatively, truthful, kept to facts, and just spoke so nicely to the Russian people who are not getting information at all, that I wanted to make sure that we posted this video to sort of help get the word out, because I think this is the type of message we need. This isn't about, screw Russia. This is screw Putin. You know what I mean? Like Putin and his supporters. That's who we're up against. And you got to remember that when this type of thing happens. There's a lot of good Russian people who don't have any say, or brave people. That the woman who was working at the newscaster, I don't have it on me right now, but when she held up her sign and spoke live, and then they cut to black as she was trying to tell the Russian viewers the truth about the war. It's scary stuff, man. Truly scary stuff. And so to see Arnold getting this word out there, and then, having... it's just smart. as this headline sort of puts it out there, hackers, Schwarzenegger, and the State Department are trying to pierce Putin's digital Iron Curtain. The reality is, in World War II, it was so much easier to control the media narrative due to technology limitations then. But nowadays, with phones and everything else, like, you can have apps and things that you haven't blocked off that can get messages through, and that become, just like in the Cold War, the radio broadcasts that they were trying to get through. So State Department created a Telegram messaging app for popular within Russians. A lot of stuff that they've been doing to try and really get in to the Russian people to help them understand what's going on and see if they can help continue to protest and overthrow this. It's going to be a lot harder to do this war if all of the Russians stand up and say, no, we're not fighting. If the soldiers say, no, we don't want to do this. But, that comes with a lot of fear because of who's in charge of the country and the laws in place to sort of punish those who fight back, which, again, terrifying. It's also terrifying. So, look, I don't want to, I'm not here to talk about, I'm not as educated in the war. It's why I don't talk about the war. To me, it's as silly as when Saturday Night Live did a sketch on it, and I didn't realize it was true, where the White House set up a meeting of influential TikTokers. I'm just like, really? Really? But at the same time, I guess, in a weird way, all of us who are here with a platform have to attempt to, speak out from time to time to alert you what's going on and make sure that the word is getting out there. I don't believe in this war. I don't believe in Putin. I don't like him. And I stand with Ukraine. I do. And so I know I hope all of you do as well. And to hear Arnold put it together the way he did, I thought was just so eloquent and well said that I want to make sure we got the word out there. So get the word out there. Share that video if you can. If you're on Telegram, share it on Telegram. It's on Twitter. It's on all the social media things, and it's been shared a lot. Let's see. I just want to refresh to see 26.7. How much is it? Yeah, already a million, over another million views since we just refreshed it since I started it. It's spreading like wildfire, as it should. And I think, who would have thought Arnold, man? I saw some of you saying, Arnold for president. I thought it was going to happen, to be honest. I thought they were going to change the law. If you lived here for a certain amount of time, then yeah, why not? Why not have the ability to be the president? But the reality is, no, you have to be born in the United States in order to become a president. There was talk for a while there where I really thought maybe Schwarzenegger was trying to change the law so he could vie for and become president. And who knows? Who knows what would have happened? He's an actor, so it's hard to think it would have been good by any stretch of the imagination. However, just like he did with the insurrection speech, which, again, he's a Republican. Schwarzenegger's a Republican, and I feel like he's become more independent. I don't know what his actual leaning is these days, but I know he's spoken against Trump, the insurrection, and a lot of the terrible things that I've seen, what they call the alt-right. I don't want to say the words here, but he's stood up against that as a Republican, and I always admire when someone in their own party can criticize their party. Whenever someone is afraid to criticize their party and just follows the mob of the Democrats or the Republicans, whatever side it is, and they're that extreme that they believe whatever their party is telling them, that's who I always got an issue with. Whether it's left or right, it's ridiculous to not have opinions on both sides of the aisle. It's crazy. And I remember when I was coming back up into the world after being canceled, and a lot of right-leaning channels were supporting me because they, anti-cancel culture. I'd be called you're just sitting on the bench. Oh, you're just a flip-flopper. Oh, pick a side, Andy. And I realize now that the people who were making those criticisms at the time, I just wasn't as educated. I wasn't as versed. I was usually in that left mob, and then I was like, well, no, wait, I thought we're all in this red-pilled, where we're all open to the ideas of both sides. And I realized that there's some bad actors on that side who are just straight on the right-hand side of things and don't actually want to hear the other side or have those conversations because it's easier. It's easier to have a reliable base that will always agree with you no matter what than have your audience challenge you from time to time, which I put myself into, and that's why we're at where we're at in the algorithm and everything else, because I won't just lean one way and just sort of bank on it. It's important, I think, to have differences of opinions. I think it's important to have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I applaud Schwarzenegger for being that guy, for putting it out there. I think what he said was really well done. So thanks to everybody who's watching and supporting. I'm going to clip this just so we can get this Arnold Schwarzenegger out. We are not done yet. I'm not done the live show. We got lots more. In fact, Lewis just joined. We're going to talk about so much more headlines and such and more. But get this video out there. Share it if you can. Let's get the world of Arnold out to the people.